Welcome to Le Weekend, your essential roundup of French news on culture, business, the economy, and current affairs. We bring you a convenient way to catch up on the stories from the past week in France, plus an additional focus feature blending reportage and cultural context. You'll find a seamless recap of the week's most important headlines without losing any content from our previous daily format, perfect for those who want to catch up in just one episode. Le Weekend is designed to keep you informed and engaged with a lighter touch at the end. Let's dive in. The headlines for Monday, July 20th. Parliament adopted the emergency agricultural law with the conditional return of acetamiprid. The division within the Central Bloc did not prevent the National Assembly from adopting the text produced by the Joint Committee, which allows, under certain conditions, the return of controversial pesticides on an exceptional basis, as reported by Les Echos. France published its strategy to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. The government presented this plan on Wednesday, aiming to phase out coal, oil, and fossil gas by 2050, detailing the objectives sector by sector, as reported by Les Echos. A so-called floating igloo is leaving France for a polar exploration mission. The Tara Polar Station set out on Sunday to begin a long-term mission to study biodiversity in the Arctic. The floating laboratory, said to be shaped like an igloo, is designed to withstand sea ice pressure and to endure temperatures as low as minus 52 degrees centigrade, as reported by Le Monde. The headlines on Tuesday, July 21st. The emblematic department store BHV Marais in Paris unveiled its recovery plan following the management change after the controversial partnership with Chinese fast fashion brand Shein. The plan includes refocusing on anchor brands, returning, and the ground floor reopening, as reported by Le Figaro. Paris City Council has adopted a tax surcharge on vacant properties to encourage owners to rent them out. According to the deputy mayor in charge of housing, Jacques Baudrier, 150,000 vacant dwellings have been identified in the capital, while the number of applicants for housing is in the hundreds of thousands, as reported by France Info. A French mayor was taken from his home and placed under protection after drug gang threats. Officials said the mayor of the southern town of Alès was whisked from his home during the night and placed in police protection after authorities got wind of a potential attack against him by the country's top drug gang DZ Mafia, as reported by Reuters. The headlines on Wednesday, July 22nd. France approved a social media ban for children under 15 in a first for the European Union. French lawmakers have approved a ban on social media access for children under 15 as concerns grow globally over the impact such platforms have on the health and safety of minors, as reported by RFI. A fast-moving wildfire in the south of France forced hundreds to flee. The fire, made worse by drought conditions, broke out in the Var department in southern France, forcing 400 people to flee their homes and burned more than 2,500 hectares, the latest in a string of fires amid 3 heat waves since early June, as reported by RFI. A French modeling scout linked to Epstein was found dead. Prosecutors said Daniel Siad, a modeling scout with ties to the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, has been found dead at his home outside Paris. An autopsy is being conducted to determine the cause of death, as reported by Reuters. The headlines on Thursday, July 23rd. Another wildfire near Bordeaux in southwest France has led to the evacuation of a further 7,000 people on Thursday, bringing the total number of tourists and residents moved to 12,000, according to local authorities, as reported by RFI. France recorded nearly 6,000 additional deaths during late June in the heat wave. France's public health agency recorded an excess mortality of 5,764 deaths between June 17 and July 2nd. While this figure remains below the excess deaths during the 2003 heat wave, researchers said it marks a turning point, as reported by Le Monde. The Louvre Museum's Apollo Gallery reopened with no jewelry on display 9 months after a daring robbery of crown jewels worth $102 million exposed major security failings at the world's most visited museum, as reported by Reuters. The headlines on Friday, July 24th. Business confidence improved in France in July, according to data published by the National Statistics Agency ANSEE. The indicator showed a significant improvement in retail and more slightly in services and industry, while it remained stable in construction and declined in wholesale trade, as reported by Les Echos. 4,800 hectares of vegetation have been ravaged by flames north of the Arcachon Basin in western France. The prefecture ordered the evacuation of all villages on the Cap Ferret Peninsula overnight, as reported by BFM. In related news, already more than 140,000 people flee monster wildfires near Bordeaux. The government has called in European Union help as flames whipped up by strong winds and boosted by drought tore through tinder-dry vegetation, as reported by Le Monde. You are listening to Le Weekend. And now that you're all caught up with the news from the past week, it's time for our focus story, where we dive a little deeper in one of the stories from the past week to provide context. Today we look at why a floating explorer made the news this week. It's Sunday, mid-July, and a strange aluminum vessel eases out of the harbor at Lorient, on France's Brittany coast, and points its blunt, saucer-shaped hull toward the top of the world. To onlookers on the quay, it looked less like a ship than a spacecraft that had wandered into the wrong element. A giant, gleaming igloo bound for the pack ice of the Central Arctic Ocean. Its name, fittingly understated for something so odd-looking, is the Tara Polar Station. The station's departure, reported by AFP as it left French waters, marks the start of what its backers describe as one of the most ambitious civilian polar research programs in a generation, and the first of 10 planned missions. It is a vessel that will deliberately let itself be trapped by sea ice and carried, helpless and drifting, across the roof of the planet for more than a year at a stretch. Less obviously, it is the latest chapter in a French relationship with the Arctic and Antarctic that stretches back more than a century through shipwrecks, ethnographers who lived among the Inuit, and one of the strangest maritime survival stories of the 20th century.
Far from arbitrary, the odd shape of the Tara Polar Station is the entire point. Sea ice, when it presses against a conventional hull, can crush it. So the station, designed by architect Olivier Petit, working with the Tara Ocean Foundation, was given an oval, saucer-like form that does the opposite of resisting the ice. When the flows squeeze it, the hull is designed to pop upward, riding on top of the pressure, rather than fighting it, according to background material published by the German sea ice research portal Meeresportal.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Imagine being in the boardroom with the world's most influential C-suite executives, exploring big questions about the economy, AI, and hybrid work. Welcome to C-Suite Perspectives, hosted by Steve Odland, President and CEO of the Conference Board, the ultimate podcast for professionals seeking the truth beyond trending headlines. Cut through the noise and dive into data-driven discussions, unbiased, nonpartisan, and straight from the top. Listen to C-Suite Perspectives and harness the power of trusted insights for what's ahead.
The 20mm aluminum hull, about 3/4 of an inch thick, reinforced to a 1A super ice classification, is built to keep working in temperatures as low as minus 52 degrees centigrade, about minus 61 Fahrenheit. The size of the vessel itself is compact for a polar research platform, just 26 meters long and 16 meters wide, but it has been engineered to punch above its size. It can accommodate a rotating crew of up to 20 people in summer, dropping to a core team of around 12 during the long winter, when the sun does not rise for months. Power comes from a mix of wind turbines, solar panels, and third-generation biosourced fuel, an arrangement that the Tara Ocean Foundation characterizes as carbon-free, given the station exists chiefly to study a region being transformed by the burning of fossil fuels elsewhere on the planet. Life aboard will be a study in contrasts. Cutting-edge oceanographic instruments and gene sequencing labs sitting alongside a sauna and grow lights for fresh greens. Amenities, the marine outlet Arctic Focus notes, were included deliberately to help crews cope psychologically with total darkness and isolation. According to trade publication Baird Maritime, the ship is expected to spend roughly 90% of each mission locked in packed ice, drifting rather than steaming, with a limited propulsion system used mainly to reach and leave the ice. The mission's stated purpose is scientific rather than purely exploratory. Speaking to reporters as the station departed, Romain Trouble, executive director of the Tara Ocean Foundation, argued that short summer visits cannot capture how the Arctic Ocean actually functions. He said, "You cannot understand the environment if you only spend 2 months a year there," according to AFP's report carried by France 24. He described the Arctic as an ocean that remains little studied even as it undergoes rapid transformation. Using a moon pool built into the hull, along with an extensive suite of onboard instruments, the crew plans to gather more than 10,000 samples of water, air, and sea ice over the course of the drift, hoping to document an ecosystem that may not survive the warming it is meant to record. As Trouble put it, unique Arctic biodiversity risks vanishing if the environment that shaped it keeps changing. The mission presents genuine physical danger. Every crew member has undergone firearms training in case of polar bear encounters, and a trained dog will travel with them to help spot approaching animals. A precaution the genomics researcher Eric Pelletier, a 58-year-old crew member, described bluntly. Bears are serious business, he said, because the animal is hunting on its own home ground and knows how to use the ice for cover. The station is also fitted with a jet fuel tank to allow helicopter refueling for emergency medical evacuation, according to design consultancy Moric, which worked on the vessel's engineering. Some 30 research institutions across 12 countries, including Germany, Canada, Spain, the United States, Switzerland, and Japan, are participating, even though the vessel was designed and built entirely in France at a shipyard in Cherbourg before being christened at Lorient in April 2025. According to Euronews, the plan calls for the station to sail along the Russian coast, escorted by an icebreaker, before allowing itself to be gripped by the pack ice in early September, after which it will drift for 350 to 500 days at roughly 10 kilometers a day, tracing a path towards the Fram Strait between Greenland and Svalbard, with arrival expected by late 2027. It is the first of 10 planned missions, named Terra Polaris 1 through 10, intended to run for 2 decades, creating what the Foundation calls a continuous rather than episodic record of how the Arctic system is changing. The station method, freezing itself into the ice on purpose and letting the polar current do the traveling, is not new. It borrows directly from the Norwegian explorer Fridtjof Nansen, whose ship Fram was purpose-built in the 1890s to be lifted rather than crushed by ice, and which drifted across the Arctic Ocean between 1893 and 1896. The Tara Ocean Foundation's own schooner, also named Tara, repeated the feat more than a century later, setting out from Lorient in 2006. It spent 507 days locked in the pack ice as part of the European Damocles climate program, completing its drift in early 2008 and becoming, according to the Foundation, only the second vessel in history, after the Fram, to cross the North Pole region by ice drift alone. That earlier voyage, undertaken during the International Polar Year, was menaced by 18 polar bear visits and covered roughly 10 kilometers a day, a pace and pattern the new station is expected to closely repeat, per an account published by Tara Ocean's own retrospective on the expedition. The Tara Polar Station is, in effect, that schooner's purpose-built, much larger and far better equipped descendant. France's polar credentials are older and stranger than the sleek new station might suggest, and they lean historically rather more toward Antarctica than the Arctic. The pivotal figure is Jean-Baptiste Charcot, a physician and the son of the pioneering neurologist Jean-Martin Charcot, who used his own fortune to commission a purpose-built polar schooner, the Français, in the early 1900s. He had intended to sail north, but when news reached Europe that a Swedish expedition had gone missing near Antarctica, he redirected south instead, a decision that, according to the historical account maintained by Cool Antarctica, effectively founded modern French polar exploration. Charcot returned to the ice from 1908 to 1910 aboard a second, more sophisticated vessel, the Pourquoi Pas, literally the Why Not, mapping stretches of the Antarctic coastline and discovering what is now called Charcot Island, according to maritime records corroborated by expedition archives. Charcot's Arctic legacy, though less celebrated than his voyages to the south, proved just as consequential. In the 1930s, he ferried a young ethnologist named Paul-Émile Victor to Greenland aboard the Pourquoi Pas, launching a career that would come to define France's organized presence at both poles. Victor spent nearly a year living among Inuit communities in eastern Greenland, and in 1936 completed an 800-kilometer crossing of the Greenland ice cap by dog sled, work chronicled by the Tara Ocean Foundation's own history of Arctic exploration. In 1947, the French government formally created what became known as the Expédition Polaire Française, the missions Paul-Émile Victor, and for nearly 3 decades, Victor led French scientific expeditions to both Antarctica's Adélie Land and the Arctic, building the institutional backbone, later recognized in today's Institut Polaire Français, that still underwrites French polar science. That lineage goes even further back. French fishing and whaling fleets worked the North Atlantic as early as the 17th century, and the Arctic Institute's country profile on France note that the 19th century La Recherche expedition ranks among the most significant scientific voyages of its era, foreshadowing the deeper French scientific engagement with the circumpolar North that Charcot and Victor would later formalize. Seen against this context, the Tara Polar Station now is the newest link in a long chain, where Charcot risked his own fortune and Victor risked isolation among strangers for a year at a time. The 18 or so scientists, sailors, and journalists who will rotate through the Tara Polar Station over the coming winter are, of course, risking life and limb, but also something more collectively urgent, representing us all to bear witness in real time to an ocean that, as Tara's own director put it, is already changing before anyone even has finished studying what it used to be.
Thank you for listening to Le Weekend, your one-stop destination for the main headlines in France. Catch our weekly roundup every weekend wherever you get your podcasts. Stay informed.